For nearly a century, millions of people were handed a very specific set of instructions for achieving prosperity, an image that has slowly faded from view. The formula was simple. You work hard, you get an education, you buy a house, and build a secure future. This chart tracks the mathematical reality of the modern economy. Up here, national GDP and corporate profits are skyrocketing. The United States has amassed more wealth than any nation in human history. Down here, the median worker's purchasing power remains stagnant. Breaking down that flat line reveals the truth. Student loans trap generations under massive debt. Routine healthcare bankrupts families, and the housing market shuts out a massive percentage of the population. When faced with these overlapping crises, the natural instinct is to assume the economy is simply broken. We blame incompetence or bad timing, or look for where the engine failed. This persistent divergence suggests we should look at these financial hurdles not as errors, but as the intentional architecture of a system designed to manage the population through economic pressure. Systemic debt operates as a mechanism for workforce control. It provides the leverage necessary to ensure a population remains tethered to the existing economic order. By preloading young citizens with massive educational loans and tying their health insurance strictly to their employer, the system eliminates their capacity to take economic risks early in life. A worker who needs to make a heavy loan payment next month and who will lose their medical coverage if they lose their job is effectively forced into compliance, with no leverage to strike, quit, or demand better conditions. This dynamic is held in place by a dual legal system shaped heavily by corporate lobbying. These rules ensure that institutional wealth is protected, while the citizens generating that wealth carry the risk. This flowchart illustrates that legal diversion in action. During economic crises, massive streams of government capital and bailout funds are routed directly to failing financial institutions and large corporations to keep them afloat. Meanwhile, only a fraction of that support reaches the actual citizens, leaving ordinary homeowners to face mass foreclosures alone. The scales tip further when we look at the tax code. The weight of funding the government falls predictably on struggling workers through unavoidable payroll and income taxes. On the other side, institutional wealth and billionaires utilize legal cutouts and loopholes to avoid contributing their proportional share. Manufactured debt and manipulated legislation act together as a one-way valve. The rules legally lock the working class in a state of dependency while steadily funneling the wealth they create upward. If the mathematics of the economy are rigged against the majority of the population, we have to ask why there isn't more unified public resistance. Modern power relies on psychological leverage rather than physical force or authoritarian violence to maintain order. Algorithmic media platforms serve up a constant stream of outrage and distraction. By feeding the public highly divisive narratives, the population remains fractured, fighting over cultural flashpoints instead of examining the economic machinery operating above them. This digital environment pairs directly with a baseline of financial anxiety. Individuals are kept exhausted, isolated, and focused on day-to-day survival, leaving them with little energy to organize for systemic change. The political process follows this same flow of capital. Corporate lobbying ensures that legislative priorities remain focused on the interests of money, even when those interests conflict with the needs of the voters. Targeted algorithms and media manipulation and engineered fear act as invisible enforcers. They keep the public occupied and ensure the economic engine runs smoothly without encountering meaningful opposition. This schematic shows how these forces interact. Debt, policy, and media operate as interlocking components of a single, unified machine, all turning together to apply pressure to labor. The system's most effective psychological trick is convincing people that their financial struggle is a reflection of their own personal or moral shortcomings. The idealized American dream functioned as an incredibly effective marketing campaign. It kept a productive workforce compliant while burying the actual terms and conditions in fine print. Recognizing this design strips the system of its psychological power. When you understand that the game is performing exactly as intended, the illusion loses its hold. The struggle facing millions of Americans is the logical result of these mathematical parameters. Shedding the burden of self-blame is the first step to seeing through the marketing and demanding a society architected for